I want to talk about Westworld for a little bit because we talked about before how it was canceled. Well, James Marsden came out, and James Marsden was talking about the show now in a couple interviews, saying how he was upset that it was canceled. And he says because of budgetary, of course, but he's also saying that maybe there's still hope for it because he loved the product so much, which, is great to see an actor come out and support something even after the fact. I don't think Westworld will come back for more, but here's what James had to say about the whole matter.
I'd be lying to you if I told you that the way we ended Westworld wasn't a disappointment, Marsden said. I'm never going to speak without gratitude about any of my experiences, but it would have been nice to be able to complete the story we wanted to finish. I love this Westworld family. It was one of those unique opportunities to be part of something where I also would be sitting at home ravenously waiting for the next episode as a fan.
Yeah, which is pretty cool to hear him say, especially someone that's on the show. But he actually went on to say this too.
I totally understand that it's an expensive show, and big shows have to have big audiences to merit that expense. I just wish it was about more than just financial success. But who knows? Maybe there's some world where it can get completed somehow. Maybe that's just wishful thinking because I know we had plans to finish it the way we wanted to.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about Westworld too. It's like I worked on Westworld, so it's also a reason why I want to talk about it because it's always fun to talk about stuff that I've worked on. But I worked on the first 2 seasons of Westworld, and I actually worked for James, who's a stand-up guy. He's awesome. He's such a nice guy. He's so cool, and he's just a pro, and he treats everyone really well and with respect on set. So that being said, when Westworld first started the first season, there were all these talks at HBO that said, we're doing 5 seasons right away, doing 5 seasons at least. That was the idea. They had a 5-season arc, and they were going to make sure it was going to happen. Now, in the public, all they said was, this is a season. We'll see what happens after the first season. But behind closed doors, they were working on it already. That was happening. So the fact they got to 4 and they get a chance to get to that 5, again, expenses. That's what they keep saying. That is a pretty expensive, a loftily expensive show. When I was working on it, it was like $10 million an episode, something like that, which is a lot of money. And they would do about 30 days for an episode, 28, 30 days. I mean, that's just a guess actually, because at some point when you're working on the show, you get a call sheet that says what you're doing for the day. The very top of the call sheet, never worked on set before. It says like day 2 of 7. That's normal shows are 7-day episodes. Westworld was like, initially it was like day 13 of 28, right? Then we get to day 28. All it says day 29. And it'd be like day 29 of question mark on the call sheet, because they had no idea how long it was actually going to take to finish an episode, which was insane. But that, again, they put a lot of money at it, and it shows with the production quality. Now, Sabrina, you hear this. Do you think that's wishful thinking that James Marsden's putting out there for the show to come back? Do you think that Westworld's just done now? It won't come back again? That's it? And we have to take episode 4 or season 4's ending as the actual finale for the series?
I think it's wishful thinking, but who knows? Maybe they're trying to shop it somewhere else. I know that they did have a comprehensive idea of how they wanted the show to end, and it was a 5-season arc. And I watched it. I liked it a lot. The first 2 seasons were great. The 3rd season was a little bit not as great. And then the 4th season, it was starting to get good again. It kind of left you just wanting to know what was going to happen. I, as a fan, would like to know how it finishes. You know what I mean? Like I would just like to know. And James Marsden wasn't in the 2nd season.
He was not the 3rd season.
He was not in the 3rd season. And I missed him. I wished he was there. They brought in that guy from what's his name from
Breaking Bad. I just want to call him Jesse Pinkman, but Jesse. But Aaron.
They brought in Jesse, Aaron Paul.
Aaron Paul, yeah.
And so he was in it, and there was like a whole new like storyline. And when I started watching, I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And it was, I don't know, it was like it took me a while to kind of get into it. You know what I mean? But then, obviously, I did eventually get into it and wanted to see what was going to happen next. I was excited for the 4th season. I would like to see how it ended, and I think that they seemed like a very close-knit crew. They spent a lot of time together, a lot of hours, and I'm sure that they would all like to finish it as well. But like you said, it's not cheap. And, I feel like it would be a tough sell to get someone to pick something up like that's so expensive and, so labor intensive for another season. But I understand where he's coming from. I feel the same way, James.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's like you see that, and you see the end of the fourth season, which spoiler if you didn't see it, it set it up for like one final game, and it finally got. I mean, the whole arc of the last season was pretty much so Dolores would find out who she was again, and Teddy, they can be together, they can get back in here, and they can fight for the end all be all game, you know. And now the fact that it ended, I mean, it wasn't a good ending for the show. I think it could be a good ending. Honestly, it was there was a good conclusion, but it was also like leaving you wanting more, which could be good maybe in the long end. But for someone else to pick this up, I don't think it's going to happen. Had a lot of issues for a long time just because of logistics, like where you're shooting at. I mean, it was so hot up in Santa Clarita all the time where they were shooting, and you're in the middle of summer, the hours, the how intricate it is. The creators, like they just really had a certain vision, and to get there, Lisa Joy was amazing, but to get there, it just took a lot of time and effort and money. And again, it's just a hard show. You're out in the elements the whole time. Plus, you have the sci-fi aspect, so it's not easy. Huge elaborate sets. It's expensive. So for someone else to pick this up, they have the show like Manifest. Like Manifest got picked up by Netflix recently. They're doing more episodes. But that's a standard show. It's easy. It's like you build a house set on a stage, you have that, maybe you have a couple exteriors. It's simple. Westworld, you're out in that Western town, you're rebuilding that Western town. Sometimes they're doubling the set over, so they're changing it to a different era. That takes a lot of time. Plus the amount of cast they have on there and the special effects. The squibs, they use practical guns. So that's a whole thing too. That takes a lot more effort to use.
I'm gonna
All
go
of
ahead and
it's
say they should have left Manifest where it was, okay? Because this last season was terrible,
Yeah, this last half, I agree with you. This last half was a little lackluster.
horrible.
And I don't
Oh
know,
my
like,
gosh.
and there's still like another half coming. I don't know where that's going to go. But at least Westworld seemed like it was getting better and it was building up for a good finale, I thought. And the last season, you got James, my boy, back. James came back
I
and I was
will.
excited.
They just found Tandy Newton, and I
Yep.
really wanted to see her kick some more ass. She was my favorite in that show. She was so great. And at the end, they dug her up. And like, so I'm assuming in the next season they were going to reboot her. And I don't know. She was really, 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 really great in that show. And I was looking forward to more of her kicking ass because she was such a badass. So I'm super bummed, and I hope that they can somehow do it some way. Let's watch. There'll be a movie made from the TV show, and I'll be eating my words.
Which would be kind of be kind of funny to see since Westworld comes from a movie back in like the 70s with Yul Brynner, and then they adapted into this TV show. If it went back to a movie, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? But
Full circle.
it might happen. They could do one big game movie that could be good. Maybe someone would do that, and they could spend 150, 200 million, and as opposed to doing it spread apart. But then at that point, you might as well do a season, because you're spending just as much, pretty much, for a season as you would for a movie. So like, what's the
Yeah.
point at that point? Why not just do the
I don't
last
know if you could
season?
tie up all of that in a movie anyway. But I'm just
Yeah,
saying, just put it out there, maybe.
it might be very tough. It might be very tough. But the fact that James put out there, of course, it's a little wishful thinking, and I think he's excited about the show. Like he really enjoyed being at it when I was there. They used to joke about how it would take so long in between seasons. Like when they shot the pilot to like when we were finishing the season one, it was like 2 years later, which is insane. And they were talking about like reshooting stuff from the pilot. Like I was there, they were reshooting stuff from the pilot, and it's like it's insane how that works sometimes. But they did it right the first season. They had to do it right. They really went there and they put on a great product. And the second season, I still think was good. It wasn't as good as the first, of course. Third season, again, you're going into the future world stuff that the movies kind of went into too, but like their own twist, which was all setting up for man versus machine, like a Terminator type thing, which they were building and building towards. And I think that's what's going to be the ultimate battle in season 5, which we're never going to see. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see it. I think it would be great to see it. I would enjoy it. Then again, look at Dexter. We never thought we'd see any more Dexter, and like years later, we got
Oh yeah,
another
that
final
was
season,
so disappointing.
and it was a letdown. And everybody really hated. They really hated the ending of season 8. Well, now season 9 or New Blood, when that came out, I mean, you're just not doing the character justice. It was like Harrison wasn't what I want him to be. I feel like a lot of people thought the same way. It just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like I mean, Dexter to go down like a little bitch like that. It just seemed like a cop out to me. Like he might as well have left him on the run. Just left
Yeah,
him
and
be a lumberjack.
there was this whole opportunity that they missed of them, like, kind of him helping the kid through his shit, like Harry helped him through his shit. Like they just missed the mark. There was like a lot of episodes of just bullshit and like stupid stuff that meant absolutely nothing. And then they like the last two episodes had like everything in it. And it wasn't, it was just, I was so disappointing. It really drove me nuts. It was very, very upsetting. I wish they would have left it too. Although I did hate the end of Dexter, but I really, really did not like the end of this.
Yeah, even Deb, when she made her appearance as Ghost Deb in Dexter, was like,
That I
she
didn't
just
like either.
no, I didn't like either. It didn't feel like Deb. It felt, I don't know. It just felt like she was so harsh. But again, it's not Deb. It's his subconscious, like because he did kill Deb in a way, or I should say, he dumped her into the ocean with his dead bodies of people that he did kill. So maybe it's his subconscious eating him up. I don't know. I'm giving the show more credit than I think it deserves. I really do think that New Blood could have been a lot better, but I was disappointed. But again, this goes back to Westworld, and what happens in Hollywood is like, once these shows get canceled, it's very hard for them to come back. Sometimes they do. But then again, after so long, it's hard to get cast together. But then again, a show like Westworld, like they went years in between each season. So maybe it would work for people. You never know. James, I'm pulling for you, man. I love to be
Me
back there in
too.
Westworld. I was actually been like hoping to come back for the fifth season before it got canceled. And I was like, oh yeah, fifth season. I'm going to start reaching out to people, but then gone. So what do everybody think? You like Westworld? Are you excited about a potential or the idea, I should say, of a new season? Or do you think just let it lie and be done with the robots?